Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective, man. It is the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. I'm about to pull my little see the chat, see what people are saying and things of that nature, man. In this video, man, I'll say things that I never said before, things that I'll regret. So before I get canceled, more than I'm canceled, shadow ban, more than I'm already shadow banned, I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this video later. You feel me? So, yeah, let me see what's up. This is a reaction video where it's gonna be a little different. Like, I be talking about stuff, and I feel like maybe a lot of people think that the shit that I be talking about don't be happening in real life. But I want to show you kind of like that the shit that I'm talking about be happening in real life. And yeah, that's basically it. And this is just like a preview for the video that I'm doing tomorrow on the Mercury retrograde. And that video was titled Everybody Lies. Everybody lies because everybody does. And that's what we don't know. So before we get started, let's first identify what the shadow is. First things first, everybody got a shadow. Everybody not going to admit to a shadow, but everybody does have a shadow. And this is why everybody lies. The person that everybody lies to mainly is to themselves. So this is why people will cheat, lie, and steal, and then feel like they the victim once they get caught, because they've never connected to that part of them that was the thief, the liar, or the stealer. They just imagine that these aspects of them were like necessary evils or whatever, but we're dealing with the shadow. And the shadow is how you treat your kids. The shadow is how you treat your husband. The shadow is how you treat everybody involved in your life. Because what you'll see is that you'll be real weird to your family. You'll be real weird to the people that you love, and people will be weird to you. And it's all based upon the shadow, right? We probably grew up in environments, had mothers and fathers that wasn't 100% right, and never had a psychological understanding of why things were. And so because we didn't have a psychological understanding, we repressed a lot of shit and projected a lot of shit, and living in a new relationship with our own kids, creating that same cycle. So the point of these review videos is so that you could begin to see yourself in these particular situations, whether negative or positive, and begin to identify the mental illness, because generally mental illness is going to be undiagnosed throughout your whole life, right? Nobody is ever going to really, especially if like you're functioning, you could be on the spectrum and high functioning and never get the treatment that you need, never get the healing or the treatment plan that you need, or nothing like that. And so the conversation that I have nowadays is from more of a healed brain perspective, because what I'm realizing at 38 is that maybe I was like high functioning on the spectrum and really struggled with a lot of trauma and a lot of like regressive ideas that, a possible treatment plan early on in life maybe would have saved me a lot of heartache and trauma, because what I really need, like I need to identify my mental illness, before, like, I go out on dates and I'm hanging out with girls and stuff like that, I need to let them know, like, it's a way that you treat me, not like other guys, not like I'm special or anything like that, but I just really operate off of honesty, and I don't really understand emotions. Like, I'm like, not to say I'm not emotionally intelligent. I'm probably a little bit too emotionally intelligent, probably a little bit too expressive of how I feel. And as a healed person, this is to bring us closer. But as a wounded person, this would trigger, the truth will trigger a wounded person. Okay? So think about that when you're in your relationships, when you really want to be honest with your wife or really want to be honest with your husband, and you can't. If you can't, then it's probably some mental illness, and it probably needs to be some form of pathology and some form of a treatment plan, so that within the relationship, you two can resolve issues, speak your truths, and raise your family without feeling a certain type of way. Think about millions of families that are broken, all because of mental illness and unresolved triggers and traumas, and the inability of, like, resolving conflict, but more or less using a breakup as a defense mechanism, and then creating a narrative around why you're better off, which that doesn't create more, that doesn't create a narrative towards, like, bringing families back together or teaching people how to be better versions of themselves. It just teaches more regressive ideas, more isolation, more stagnation, and unfortunately, more mental illness. And so, one of the major identifiers of self diagnosis and pathology and treatment is shadow work, where you may not could afford a therapist, and even if you can afford a therapist, maybe they're not really interested in your soul. They're more interested in their paycheck. So that might happen more than you get in the proper healing. So if you take a vested interest in your healing, you begin to look at the shadow and the shadow work, because the reality of you having a fucked up mom and dad is really high. It's really, really high. So when we react to these videos and we talk about these videos, hopefully you could see yourself or see others, gain some compassion, gain some empathy, and gain some understanding of how, like, the shadow and shadow work can play out in real life more than just like shit that I'm talking about on YouTube. So thank y'all for joining me on this late night session of I'll delete this video later.
I'm really, really proud of you. I'm sorry for the damage that I did.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
Now, the reason that I'm reacting to this video is because a lot of mothers and fathers need to take responsibility for the damage that they done to their children, because for a lot of spiritual people, that responsibility has legitimately been inversed, to where the child is the responsible one in the relationship. The child is the one that keeps up everything, and while the parent becomes the beneficiary. So it's like you work for your parents' love. And a healed person honors their mother and father by allowing them to be a mother and father. Like, I have children, so I'm not going to want them to initiate their healing journey or anything like that. When you are a parent, you are protecting them, or at least you're trying to protect them. But in this generation, Pluto and Scorpio, for the generation that most of us were raised in, it's quite normal that your mom and dad tore you down because they generation have torn them down, because Pluto and Libra generation was more of like a heartbreak generation and unresolved love trauma that led to unresolved sexual trauma. And now Pluto and Sagittarius is unresolved spiritual trauma, right? And now it's just like unresolved, unresolved, unresolved. But these aren't like negative things. It gives us purpose in the third dimension world of what we could actually be doing, which is understanding where the wounds are and trying to heal those wounds. So it's quite normal for a person to pedestalize their mother, pedestalize their father, or really feel like their father was the reason why, right? But never really examining that specific mother wound of her probably not treating you the way that a mother should. But only a healed person can recognize this, because a broken person, so now we're talking about the shadow. A broken person feels that their mother should take care of them, and so the ways that their mother don't, it becomes repressed. It becomes something that they don't really think about, right? Now, a healed person says, I know how a mother should treat their child, but I also know that my mother and father is going to fall short. So this is where my presence and my ability to like recognize that my soul is more powerful than my upbringing, and really get into like a spiritual soul consciousness, or else. And doing this work, the major block, I'll say this in every video because in every person that I talk to, it is the block where it is the iniquity of their mother and father, and them trying to explain it as a part of their spiritual journey, where the reality is that everybody's mother and father is going to fall short of the standard of what a mother and father should do. The reason why they all fall short is because that's not an excuse or a reason to stop your spiritual journey. But it's a major hang up for most people. It's like the final boss. So it's always a good discussion, and it's always good for us to kind of examine these particular situations.
I was emotionally and verbally abusive. I used you as a container for my rage. The rage against my own father.
So this is very, very key, right? A lot of things that we experience as children don't have nothing to do with us. This is where the cycles of narcissistic abuse come in, where you're not responsible for anything because you're a child, but a unhealed person, a unhealed parent will literally make you the reason for why they aren't able to succeed in life, when that's not the case. We've all had ample amount of time and opportunity to become the best version of ourselves, and nobody who takes the time and energy to become that mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually has time to project, has time to be angry. That's not normal. But in the black community, if we are high functioning and on the spectrum, then we have no real pathology to heal. So we normalize dysfunction, we normalize mental illness, we normalize yelling and fussing and arguing, and we just so comfortable in these spaces. But at the same time, we live in a world where there is psychological studies, meaning the study of the soul, and it is just on paper. And as much as we can talk about the new Tyler Perry movie, I find it interesting that you never talk about mother wounds and father wounds and shadow projection as much as you talk about whether, who the Lions is drafting for the Super Bowl or some shit like that. So these things is all taking place. The Lions are drafting a football player, but at the same time, your mother and father probably have mental illness that they suffer from, delusion that they suffer from, just brokenness that they suffer from, and the only healing that they have is projection. So, what is projection? It is when, because we are not aware of our shadow, then we have a lot of unhealed, unaware parts of ourselves, and the way that we get in contact with these unhealed, unaware parts of ourselves is if we project them. Not to, usually it's the, sometimes it's the strangers, right? Sometimes some shit happens on the news and we're like, I hate R. Kelly, right? Which is projection, you know, and Marcus Houston, projection, right? If you 21, you like, that's what's up. But if you 38 and you single, now you hate Marcus Houston. Like you hate him for what he married a young woman. Because the reality of life is that, and the reason that I'm having these conversations and they're so dire and so serious is that you can't reverse time. You can't be 21 again. You can't put toothpaste back into the tube. So when you a older person, like you 38, 40, my age range 25 to 44, it's time to grow the fuck up. And it's time to help younger people as opposed to envying and being jealous of younger people. Because the reality is this: when you was a younger woman, you could have married an older man and been set for life. Not even to the point where you could have been married to him. I mean, when you young, you could marry a man and then divorce him after 5 years and get alimony until you find another husband. But that's way better to me, in my opinion. I would tell my daughter that's way better than having a boyfriend and everything is everything. But once the relationship is over, you can't get his ass for alimony or nothing like that. Unless you got a child support. That's kind of petty. But I would hope that if a man leave my daughter, that he would have to pay. Because marriage is very serious. And it's not boyfriend and girlfriend. So, once again, this is the way that things should be. But where we live in a world where you can't be honest with people, you can't be truthful and say, nah, about 19 to 21 is where you want to take advantage of your value. But, a lot of times people be feeling like, yeah, when I turn 30, that's when I'm going to be ready to be married. But the truth of the matter is, you going to have struggle of, like, what make a relationship is if a man is in love with you, right? A man wanting to do the things that he want to do because he's so in love with you. Because you was angry and evil and you want these things is probably more the reason why you won't get them. So if you tell your wife or your children, make sure you get a degree, make sure you get money and things of that nature, you really shooting her in the foot for ever having a relationship of value where a man could be really in love with her for who she is and like her energy. Like for a man to be in love, from his perspective, a lot of this world is kind of catered to how women feel, and how men feel is a point where you could get triggered, mad, angry, don't agree with it. A lot of times it's not like people be like, it's not what you said, it's how you said it, right? And I ain't never really heard that say that about a woman in my life. I never heard of somebody say, "Yo, it's not what she said, it's how she said it," right? So it's kind of a difference.
I curse God that he gave me sons because of the rage that I had.
Another thing about rage, like masculine rage, which is feminine rage, right? Because 80% of the men that's in prison are from single mothers, because masculine rage is feminine rage, because true masculines don't express themselves in rage because they know the consequences. So a real masculine is very calm, collected, and can think. This is why masculine men don't go to prison, and feminine men go to prison because it's usually their rage. They get so enraged by something. I promise you, if you went to prison, like I've been to prison, a large percentage of the men that's in there for doing something violent is like a moment where they snapped and they can't get that moment back. Well, a masculine man don't have those type moments. Masculine men don't snap. And this is the benefit from being raised from a father versus being raised from your mother, where you feel like it's okay to snap as a man. And we realize that you can snap. And this is why black men go to prison a lot, because of their circumstances and how they handle their emotions. And so rage for a black man is prison, right? But rage for a black woman or a mother is soft piano music and bunch of hugs and love and kisses and hugs, because we don't really understand rage as a people. Like, I mean, as a man, you have to understand rage. You have to, like, like, if I punch this motherfucker, I'm gonna go to jail. So you just don't live your life like that. But if you do live your life like that, a lot of men don't. A lot of men are so feminine that they don't even make that distinction. They don't come to like full clarity of their rage and their anger. So that's why they end up in weird situations that they do. But then some men, they'll never be in those types of situations. So it's kind of like showing you in real time what rage does and what it looks like.
You are not responsible. You are not responsible for my rage, for my emptiness. And for 27 years out of my 64, I've been working on my own healing.
And this is the problem with healing. What I've understood about like pathological liars and like pathological liars and social interactions and family interactions just casual banter, for it to kind of exist, it would have to exist over 80% lies. And the reason why is because to exist in truth, I know as women probably will listen to this conversation and really want to fuck me up because I'm telling the truth, right? That's the only reason. So generally, if you and I've been doing this for so long, and I've met so many people that I've helped because that's how I love, that's the energy that I give off. But I also speak the truth. So after the benefit has been received, it's like Chris Brown featuring Tyga and Kevin McCall, deuces, you know, because nobody want to sit and have truthful conversations with Kyrie, which I wouldn't either. But at the same time, I'm just having a self realization and revelation to why, you know, truth is not going to make people love you. And what I'm gonna talk about tomorrow is real interesting because, like, think about music, right? If you wrote a song like "I got diarrhea because I ate some Chinese food," you ain't never heard a song like that. But that's a truthful situation. I ate some Chinese food and I had a massive case of diarrhea. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't eat Chinese food, but whatever, right? Or, I'm just sitting here doing a live on YouTube talking about TikTok videos. You never heard a song like that because it's truthful. Meaning that the truth not real interesting, right? Sometimes it is, most of the time it's not. What's always interesting is a lie. So MC Flim Flam is not successful because he's truthful. He's successful because he's a liar. But like Garth Brooks singing about his lover on the honky tonk land, that never happened, right? Name me your favorite song in the comments. I will pull up the lyrics and read the lyrics, and you saying this your favorite song. You listen to this song all the time, but it's a lie. And you ain't never really felt it as a lie. You say my favorite song is a lie. Well, why is your favorite song a lie? That don't even make sense. Why wouldn't your favorite thing be something form of a truth? So you could benefit from it. So if your favorite song and favorite movie is a lie, like most black people, bro, you would talk to them all day about movies. They know every movie. We done seen every movie, then watched it over and over because we really like lies. We really just super comfortable with lies. And so when we having conversations centered in truth, it's like very much of a cognitive dissonance is activated. And what I've noticed about people is that if they don't want to receive the information, they'll just dismiss it, right? So yeah, that's the world that we live in.
I forgive you. Oh.
Okay, let me just take my shoes off. I can't take it. No.
At this point, she kind of conceal a little laughter because the real conversation. This is what I had this epiphany. Just like dating and dealing with women and stuff like that. It's kind of like a fantasy, because the reality is that I'm married with 4 kids. So you could date a woman and she could just be like, "Oh, I love you so much. You so awesome. You so chill." But the reality of me is just not like that. I'm dealing with kids. So be so real to deal with my kids. Be so real to deal with my wife. Or it's just cool. It's just we could be friends. But it's like just healing. Healing is like, why would I ever play games with a woman? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? I don't have no reason to play games with nobody. I don't really have no reason to lie or whatever, because at a certain point, you don't know how a person is feeling, because a person can cry, a person can talk to you, and a person can just be lying that whole fucking time, because it's just how they have regressed, or the trauma that they have experienced, or they unhealedness, and how they show up, and they just viewing you in just a incorrect way. So, like, don't expect, because a person is crying in front of you, because a person is like apologizing, and a person is just saying the things that they need to say to be in your good graces, that is something that you should accept, because that is going to get you more and more fucked up. Because the thing about lying is that it's not a truth, but a person will use their words like they telling you the truth, but they not telling you the truth, but they only doing this because you just easily accept their words as truth, or they do like real emotions behind how they are verbiaging and talking, and now you like, okay, maybe they serious about it. But I'm gonna tell you, bro, or sis, whoever is listening to this, a real person is going to be acting in a way that is loving and compassionate. They're gonna hear you, they're gonna see you, and they ain't going to ever take it to the level of getting Ayana Van Zant on television to tell you, you know what, I fucked up. They ain't gonna put on the show. They not even gonna tell you. They just gonna be like, they might tell you, but they gonna show you more than they tell you, cause that's what healed look like. Being unhealed is saying, I'll never do this again. I'm so sorry I did this to you. I forgive you. That's a show, because the real truth is 599 days from now, have you been consistent with your forgiveness and your love? I don't know that. So don't tell me shit that you can't show me, or that you won't show me after you done hurt me. Because you know what that's like? That's like, and this is mainly like being in a relationship with a woman, like a mother, a sister, girlfriend, daughter, even. They can wrong you and apologize and keep hurting you. Because it's emotional and mental, you can't really check them on it. But if you was to like have a real time example of what it feels like and what it looks like, it's like a nigga stabbing you. And like, damn, that hurt, bro. You stabbed the shit out of me. You know what? I'm so sorry I stabbed you. I'll never stab you again. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I stabbed you. I'll never stab you. And then you like, damn, I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have moved my shoulder to the right so much. My fault. Yeah, okay, cool. And then they just stab your ass again. But then they just keep stabbing you. And then every time you be like, hey man, that shit hurt. I'm so sorry. That would be really, really fucking crazy. But mental and emotional abuse, we feel like we can solve it by a performance. But for one, you can't solve it. Mental illness is uncurable. There is nothing on file, on record, that can cure mental illness. That's number one. This is why it's so important to have a conversation of understanding. And number two, you need to have a psychological understanding of some shit that you can't heal. It's like that boy. So you got on the spectrum, high functioning, low functioning. If you had a little brother who is like in a wheelchair, his arms was deformed, and he couldn't walk right. He didn't just wake up one day like, "What up, y'all? I'm Tremaine. Where the hoes at?" He like that to this day because mental illness is uncurable. When you treating your kids in a certain type of way, and you beating your kids, you abusing your kids, there ain't no cure for that. We could do treatments, we could do all types of shit, but if you feel like regressing, if you feel like relapsing, if you feel like feeling angry, if you feel like lying or abusing, you're just gonna do that shit. And the thing about the brain is not even a point where you could recognize that you are acting out of hurt and pain. Cause you just gonna act. So I can have these like weird conversations on YouTube from time to time, but at the end of the day, we really living in a world that's extremely fucked up and is extremely narcissistic. And if you ever in a relationship where you and your wife and you and your husband can sit and have conversations and express your emotions without judgment or fear of abandonment, then you better motherfucking know that God love your ass. Cause at the end of the day, the average or normal person tell their wife, I'm bisexual, and now she hate him for the rest of his life and kicking him out and telling him that he an ancient nigga. But this is his truth though. He like he bisexual or whatever. But now his wife is mad because the truth of the matter is fucked up. Or so this, it's just weird. So hopefully you could be a bisexual man and have a wife that love you for being who you are, bisexual or not, versus a bitch condemning you to hell because your truth don't align with her emotional intelligence. Right? And that's the truth. A lot of women will say, I want a man like this, I want a man like that. And whether they get him or not, which is crazy to even think, right? You silly to say you want a woman like this and you want a woman like that when your hormones get in gear and your need for survival or replication and your baby mama look like Shrek. I mean, most dudes is just going to be like, it's whatever. But at the end of the day, just follow your hormones, follow the energy, do the inner work. And if you got a short man, an ugly man, or a fat man, but he make your pussy wet, then maybe your ancestors is telling you something. So I'm saying all of this to say, like, if you really want to heal and you really want to have a connection with somebody that you hurt or mentally or emotionally abused, don't get with Iana Van Zant and have a bunch of motherfuckers clapping around you. Cause you making a show of something that's super important. And it's good that they doing it. But I think it sends off the wrong message of what we're looking for. Cause maybe you like, damn, well, I'll probably heal the relationship with my mama once motherfuckers start clapping and going, aw. Right? But first, your mom gotta even recognize that she hurt you and then feel strong enough emotionally and mentally and physically and spiritually strong enough to apologize to somebody that she probably feel like is their responsibility to apologize to her. Sometimes parents feel like the children have wronged them based on how their life have turned out or the things that they haven't done for them. Right? As opposed to saying, well, my baby is on the spectrum and for whatever reason, or my baby has bipolar disorder, or my baby has anxiety or ADHD or whatever. And this is his struggle. And this is his treatment plan. This is pathology. And this is the environment that I'm creating for him so he can be on the path to wholeness. So that, he not getting his ass kicked in life because every bitch that he going to date with is just expecting him to be this man. but not recognizing that, oh, he just high functioning, autistic. He just have bipolar disorder. So what is his pathology? What is his environment? What is his triggers? Not like, well, you bipolar and I hope you change in the future. Once again, there is no cure for mental illness. So if you love a person and you like a person, you can't just hope that he change one day. The same way, if his leg is chopped off, you can't hope that his leg gonna grow back one day. And I think like our expectations of who a person is and who a person will be is unrealistic, because we might be on this healing journey and this healing path versus something that just cannot be healed. We can understand it and we can work around it, and that's more healthier than trying to heal it or change it. Because like, do you heal a missing toe? Like, you have a more probability of your toe growing back for you to heal trauma, realistically. Like, not in a place where I can scam you $1,000, but at the end of the day, if you not over the trauma that your father have done to you, you just wasted $1,000. That's the truth. That's reality. And that's why you could get scammed more than get actually healed.
Forgive her for what? Let's be specific. Let's be specific. I forgive you for.
I forgive you for tearing me down. I forgive you for telling me you wish you could leave me after Daddy died. I forgive you for yelling at me every day, no matter how many times I came home, cleaning the house. I forgive you for every...
You know, growing up in like the Pluto and Scorpio generation, is more than likely that your parents really wanted you to be a slave. So like, what you probably don't do with your kids is like have a list of chores and then allowance, right? But I guarantee you, your mom and your dad had shit for you to do. Like, my mom wasn't like that, but like living with my stepmom, oh, she wasn't playing. Like, she wasn't playing about the kids cleaning up. Like, not even like to a point where we could just clean up some shit. No, we had to clean some shit. Like, to this day, the reason how I clean is why I clean is because of that lady. Because she was just like a person that was just like, no, wake you up out of your fucking sleep. Like, there's some shit in the corner, some dust that you missed type of shit. And it's like, I know that in this generation, parents is not on that type of time. But once again, understanding generational trauma and specific triggers, I'm not saying that that's bad, that we don't make our children do chores and allowance, but I'm not saying that that's good either, to like want your kids to be slaves or whatever the case may be. Like, it's good to know how to clean and like that, but it really do set you up for like working, allowance, and a job, which if that's all your parents know, that's all they can give you. If you had a parent that was very successful and you had a cleaning lady every day, then your mom and dad was not making you do chores, right? It's not even making no sense for real. But we can be so impoverished and broken that we feel like we teaching our kids something by making them clean up the house. When really, you should be having your money in a specific arrangement that you can just spend that $300 a month for a cleaning crew. A bunch of people who want to clean, professionally clean. You don't be teaching your kid how to wash a car. You take your ass to the car wash. and they wash the car for you. So, just a little fucked up ways of how we was raised that we normalized.
Every moment I hate it because you hurt me.
So she hated her father. Now he hates the women, to be clear, right? The cycles of narcissistic abuse, right? So you ladies, be real careful. Like you could meet a man that was raised by a single mother. And I'm gonna tell you one thing: if he don't have an understanding of his emotions and his expression, and he don't have that, he just look good, dress good, you know what I'm saying, got a particular stroke game, and you like him, oh man, you like in love with a ticking time bomb. Cause he just know how to rage. And what we focus on, it grows.
I forgive you for every time I hurt myself. I forgive you. I love you. I don't know what I would do without you.
But I forgive you for not being who I needed you to be.
I forgive you. For not being who I needed you to be. Who I wanted you to be.
Yeah.
Who I didn't have growing up without a father. I needed you so bad and you were at work. You were gone. When you got home, I was sitting on that couch. I had popped 50 pills and you walked past me and didn't even notice it.
I'm really, really proud of you. I've been working on my...
I forgive you.
And the reason why this is so emotional and everybody in the crowd is feeling it is because, not because of him in their situation. You know why it's so emotional? Because we've been through the same shit. We just never had the conversation. So we could project our experience on this particular situation, which is all in Leo, all in theatrics, all in espionage. But we could get that emotional reaction and emotional understanding because none of us have worked through our mother wounds. We can't even, it's not even a space for us to have a conversation about a mother wound. This is why it's so emotional and so jarring, and the subject is so taboo. And it almost feels like an attack. But yet and still, we just need to have an intellectual and psychological conversation so we're not projecting this wound further and continuing the cycles, because from Kevin Samuels to Coach Greg Adams to the whole entire manosphere is an unresolved mother wound. Men that you date will have an unresolved mother wound, and I'm going to tell you, they express it through projecting rage on your pretty sexy ass that just in love with him so much. So be careful.
Sorry.
You've said that you cannot teach a man or tell a man how to be a man. So I will not.
This is what I need to say. I want to show y'all in the lower left hand corner is a picture of a couple that work in the rice field. It's a man and a woman. Now, y'all can't see the subtitles, so I'm going to just tell y'all the subtitles. The subtitles is saying, he's saying, I'm about to fuck the shit out of her after we get from this rice field. I'm going to bend her over doggy style. Give her the best 2 inches that I got. And we are happy, we're in love, and we're on the rice field. If you feel like you need a man that is this, that, and the third, you are delusional. I knew women was delusional when I was a teenager because I grew up in a group of friends. It was like 9 of us. And of course, when you have 9 friends, it's a leader. Okay. And the leader of us wasn't the person who was the most handsome or whatever. The leader, his name was John, for lack of better words. He had a mom and a dad. And the only quality that he had, like, he was smart and he was a leader and he was a hustler, but he wasn't attractive. And he stunk and he had bad breath. He stunk and he had bad breath. He wasn't attractive. But because he was the leader of us, he got all of the bad bitches. That's when I knew that women was delusional and they just wanted the clout. They would be kissing them and like, I'm around this nigga all the time. And this nigga ain't never brushing his teeth. He always smelling like ass. He was the type of nigga that he would take a shower and would still stink. And it would piss you off because it would be like Irish Spring and ass. And it was like, it was just a fucked up combo. But he never had no trouble with getting women. And I knew that they was delusional because he had a nice car and he always had money. But he was a risk to their whole hygiene. He was a whole risk to their pH balance. But they didn't give a fuck. He was a boss. So, I'm saying this all to say that's rooted in delusion. Because if I'm around the boss, I know the nigga. He's gonna fuck you. Period. He's gonna fuck you. And he's like, that was his whole plan. Beginning, middle to end. And if you gave him the best pussy ever, he was going to talk about it. Nah, that bitch last night, she had the best pussy ever. You going to marry her? No, I'm going to just look for another bitch. But in that woman's head, because she had sex with him, she thinking, maybe I stand a chance. Delusion, mental illness. So, in this clip, we going to see Ebony K Williams exalted in her mental illness and Ayanna Van Zant attempting to be some form of a voice of reason. Now, these are like representations of truth and lie in a simple understanding. You don't deserve the best man ever because you exist. That don't even make sense. You can get you a regular ass nigga and live happily ever after. You can get you a normal ass dude and live happily ever after. He don't gotta be the CEO, the boss, the money making earner. He don't have to fulfill your hypergamous fantasy. Because in China, there's some rice workers, and you don't got no problem getting no pussy, getting no love. And that's why China is a stronger country than America. Because they're not going to limit their ability to fall in love and have a healthy and happy family. It's not a black woman in this planet that can't find love. For real, is beautiful and is, whatever fill in the blank positive adjective you could fill in. But if they don't want to fall in love with you because you're not good enough for them, well, that shuts the door on love completely. And if you're going to shut the door on love completely because a man not doing what you think you should be doing, that's mental illness. If everywhere else in the world, they not even living in that criteria. And within your fantasy, you're not even going to factor in an economic recession, an economic collapse. We living in Mad Max. It's bandos, it's trap houses, it's all types of weird shit going on out here. And you just feel like Blair Underwood gonna come in a Batman costume and rescue you. But at the same time, you on dating apps. On dating apps. Hitting yes. Hitting a green check. Getting ran through. Getting blew through. But at the same time, you still waiting on Mr. Right. You can't have it both ways. You either going to... You ain't gonna have it either way. Like, you only are the type of girl that just get ran through on the late night. That's just who you are. And if you ever was to stand in the truth of the woman who gets blew through on the late night, ain't no high quality, high top tier man cool with that. And just gonna be like, yeah, it don't matter. You the one for me. I don't care. So, Ebony K Williams is going to try to verbalize a question that cannot be asked, but because she knee deep in her delusion, she gonna ask it in a way that might feel that is intelligent, might feel like it's deserving, but the reality is that if you wanted love, you could have it. But if you want love a certain way, then bitch, you fucked up. It's fucked up out here. You gonna be real. You watch Disney movies. You like romance. You watch movies a lot, and all of that shit is lies. So now you waiting for a lie to take place.
I'd ask you to indict men in this question, but I do want you to speak, Ayanla, to how women need to, position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver?
Now, usually you ain't supposed to ask a question with a question, but Miss Van Zant does so expertly because your question is not really a question. If you want a black man, this is the reality this is the truth. I'm going to take your ass as you is with your delusion and your brokenness. Guess what, ho? Guess what, ho? Surprise. You about to take me with my brokenness. We gonna do shadow work together. We gonna come up with a pathology together. I'm gonna nurture your brokenness. You're gonna nurture my brokenness. You're not going to just be like, well, I'm gonna just wait until I find a nigga who's not hurt when you hurt. You can't study the law of attraction and then be like, well, I'm broken here. That shouldn't have nothing to do with my law of attraction. No. The reason why you attract broken men is because you're broken. The type of men that you attract is a reflection of yourself. Point blank, period. Mental illness is your ability to not see your brokenness. mental illness is to imagine that you're not broken at all and it's only the men that's broken. I got statistics. I got all my girlfriends saying the same thing. We experiencing the same thing. So yeah, something wrong with the men. And this is what Ebony K Williams is going to hold in her heart for the rest of her life. And that's why she married the dude that she ended up marrying. Because in her heart, she know that, you know, only, and it might have some truth to it, because when I'm talking about psychological understanding, it's only really, it's not our race that have like a high functioning psychological person or somebody with mental illness. It could be diagnosed if you come from a well-to-do family. You could probably have some type of pathology and they can be like, oh, Jimmy, he's autistic. When the black community is like, oh, that's Jermaine, that nigga crazy, don't fuck with him. That nigga got problems. That nigga got issues. So that's just the difference.
Would you date
If he owns the bus, if he owns it, if he owns the bus,
See, that's a problem.
That's the problem.
That's a problem. Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus.
Listen, Ayana, I'm not a bus driver. I got my CDLs though. I got my CDLs, and trust me, I know what to do with that thing. I know exactly what to do with that thing.
He was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well.
I'm a pretty...
Ayana, you need to come on and join the goddamn team, baby. I got some. This video just really triggered something in my spirit to say, you know what? Ayana, you can get it. I think I'm ready. In this last video, we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. Now, what is emotional intelligence? It's thrown around. Whatever does it mean? I don't even know what it means if I'm going to read this definition. Because you can't be intelligent about something that don't exist. So the more, say for instance, you have an invalid emotion and you're intelligent about it, that just means you're super smart about something that's invalid. Now, let's read it's a conversation, it's a talking point. It makes sense for people to say it, but usually when we talk in rhetoric and we got crowds and we got an audience, we're just generally trying to promote a response. We're not trying to educate or lead them to anything. But not me though, nigga. I'm here to figure out some shit. Emotional intelligence is a way of recognizing or understanding and choosing how we think, feel, and act. All impossible shit. Recognizing how we think. How the fuck does that look? Impossible. How we feel. It's kind of, you can recognize how you feel. Recognize how you act. Kinda. Understanding how we think. That's impossible. Understanding how we feel. Kinda impossible, because especially if you're a spiritual being, how we feel. Alright, I got 4 kids. They all grew up in similar situations, and I love them all the same. But they all feel 4 different ways, because they all got past life things that they worked through. So it's not about how I treat them or how I don't treat them. It's basically who they are as an individual. Who's going to actually understand that? It's hard. All right. In choosing how we think. Once again, hard to do. Right? I can tell a person right now, hey, I need you to choose to make some fucking money. They'll be like, I want to choose that too because I need some money. But they'll more likely choose what they've been already choosing that's not having them, that's brought them into the situation that they in now, which is being broke. So emotional intelligence, it shapes our interactions with others and our understanding of ourselves. It defines how and what we learn. It allows us to set priorities. It determines the majority of our daily action. Now, this is like, it's made up. Emotional intelligence is like a book that Daniel Goleman wrote, and it's like anecdotal. Like 50% of that book is anecdotal. Him being a doctor and how he felt about the people that he was talking about. And it's like, you can't research emotions of people. It's too many people. And as a scientist, as a doctor, you might have a research pool of people that you're researching, and what you understand about these certain amount of people is still limited to the entire experience of the world and just the flow of everybody's emotions. You don't know. You can't wrap your mind around it. So a wise man, right, knows that he knows nothing. You can't know shit. That's what make you smart. So essentially, emotional intelligence is, this is emotional intelligence at its core, because what this dude to do, he'll act like because I'm emotional intelligent, I can somehow peer into your brain. But true emotional intelligence is that I don't know what this bitch is thinking about. All I know is that she treating me like shit. That's all I know. And she might have a reason to treat me like shit. But at the end of the day, not my job to figure her out. Especially if I'm serious about love. Especially if I'm serious about a relationship. If I'm serious about a relationship, it's going to be real hormonally. And if it's real hormonally, then we could have the conversations to resolve whatever things we need to resolve, because we are attached at a hormonal level. If you're not attached hormonally to a person, then I personally wouldn't even waste my breath with a woman who not attracted to me at a hormonal level. Like from each and every chakra, she not connected to me. I don't gotta talk to her. I don't need to pursue her, because I'm just one of them type of people that have actually been connected to a person at an ancestral level. And I don't know how that works, so I can't be intelligent about it. You just gotta know it exists and say it exists, and not know like you don't know. So that's true intelligence. But let's react.
Emotionally intelligent dude. I've noticed that there's only room for my emotions when they're convenient for the woman that's asking me to be emotionally intelligent. That any emotional labor I do.
He said emotional labor, and I was like, what is emotional labor? Well, by definition, emotional labor refers to regulating or managing emotional expressions with others as part of one's professional work role. So when you're in a relationship, and generally, like, I was like, the truth of a man is something that you would have to want to know, right? What makes you happy? Like, who are you as a human being? If you don't do that in your relationships, then, like, say for instance, you just don't really give a shit about the man or whatever, but he paying your rent and he benefiting you, he look good, he fuck you good or whatever, but you not trying to figure him out. Well, when he with you, he not like in his emotional bliss. meaning that his emotions to be with you and to be pleasurable or tolerant of you is labor. It's a work. It's a job. Like, for real. Like, I'll tell you. Like, if you're not trying to have a threesome, you're not trying to like get into no freaky shit with me. You're not really trying to talk about nothing that I want to talk about. I don't really like you for real. Like, I don't really like you. Like, I'll tolerate you. I gotta go through emotional labor. Now, what he's going to go on to say is that a woman's not going to appreciate your emotional labor because in her mind, she think that you want to watch that TV show or you want to be ignored or you want a woman to not care about you as an individual. You want this for real. She don't think that you are working, like you are putting your emotions through a particular toil and labor just being around her because she ignoring you and your dreams, your hopes and goals just so you can watch some fucking TV show with her and develop some type of fake emotional connection. Right? So if you are like serious about a man and you really love him, don't make him do shit that he don't want to do in the way that you doing shit that he don't want to do is if you don't like communicate on what it is that he want to do. And then don't just listen to him, actually support it. So if you say I'm really into threesomes, then you either break up with him or you talk to your girlfriends about having a threesome with y'all. Like you going to the bar, you trying to find somebody, like that's what you about. And he's like, well, I don't want to do that. Then leave him alone because he told you what he wanted. Or whatever it could be. He want to own a business or buy a house. Well, your ass should be figuring out how to buy a house because that's what he want. Now, if you're around him, you want to buy a house, but I want to go out to dinner. Well, the time he out to dinner with you is emotional labor. And now, if I'm doing labor, I need to be compensated. The point that he's going to make is that it's not normal for a woman to compensate you. One, because she don't know that you even performing this labor. And two, if she don't know you performing this labor, she not even conditioned or even thinking that you need to be compensated for the labor that you put in. Because she thinking that you want to do the shit that she want to do. Right? So
that's not for her convenience or not that something she specifically asked for, that either goes unnoticed or when I'm saying something that's not favorable, the shit gets used against me and it becomes about how she feels about what I said and not about the shit that I said.
Ladies, he making some too much sense. Somebody cry. Somebody cry. Somebody cry.
So
now this is why I'm doing this reaction, because like you could be with your boyfriend or girlfriend right now and hit them with some real shit and they start crying and you would change your whole ways of like dealing with the situation because they crying, right? They disarming you. They really putting you in a position where I'm here to talk and you here to cry. So I'm here to solve, you here to manipulate. Now she just said that like, you know, as a joke, and it's an audience, and I get it, but you might think like, you know, she'll tell you like, you know, you just be so angry when you say what you say, it's your tone or the way you be saying it. No, that's a whole performance to disarm you and to move you away from what you are trying to solve. So he's literally saying something to the audience or to the crowd, and instead of her response saying, ladies, we need to really check this. We really need to like do something about this. This is real serious. Like her response is, we need to start crying. Somebody cry. He making too much sense. This is real interesting.
All I'm saying, because saying that, all right, now we got our own money, we want y'all to be emotionally intelligent, that's a great argument until it becomes a real life situation and you start to deal with an emotionally intelligent nigga and you realize it ain't been enough of them in your life and you don't know what to do with that type of man.
You're not lying.
And this is kind of what I was just talking about in the video in general. Like, nobody's fantasizing about the truth. Radio didn't teach us the truth. Entertainment didn't teach us the truth. Music didn't teach us the truth. Movies didn't teach us the truth. Schools didn't teach us the truth. So when we are really trying to bring about a real live relationship, something that is like healthy, something that can really like benefit us long time, it have to be centered in the truth. And like you could look at people like Steven Crowder, Tyrese, people that's getting divorced, DJ Academics, he got backdoored by his girlfriend. And what men of high status, they work so hard to get with a woman that legit don't see them as a human being. And maybe they cool with that. But like I said earlier, I would never use what I have or what I can do as a bargaining chip to get a woman, because you know we was hunters growing up. Like, we ain't have shit, bro. We ain't have nothing, but we could get women. We could get women to fall in love with us, have sex with us, give us rides, you know. And we was nothing or nobodies. And these same women have gone on to probably get married and fall in love and have children. But at the end of the day, you know, it's like I can't be that type of person that's like dealing with somebody that I just love, that I just like so much, that I just don't know who they are and can't have a conversation about it. Because what I'm realizing is that everybody lies, especially with their emotions and their minds and just how they feel and what they talk. And even with their actions, a lot of times, some people would do shit for a week, right? Just to make you not think that this is what they're going to do and then revert to who they really are. So this is Mercury retrograde and everybody lies. So your criteria for strong relationships, you should never be into a point where he said or she said or whatever, I didn't know because I wasn't never. Like, everybody gonna lie to you. I need consistency. I need a person who feels it at a hormonal level to show up for whatever they soul tell them to show up for, without no form of motivation from me, because that could be a form of lying. So with that being said, I just wanted to do a quick reaction. I was up and I had these videos and I wanted to kind of react to them anyway, so that's what I did. And tomorrow I'm gonna be talking about Mercury retrograde and just more of like the science of lies, the science of love, this Aries energy, what it's about, and just, you know, talking, doing like a week before the full moon astrological update centered around Mercury retrograde and lying and things of that nature. So tune into that. Like the video if you haven't liked it already. I appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with me. This what is this? This evening, morning, I don't know what you call it. But yeah.